Hey folks, West Boss here. I'm in a shed. I'm freezing. The world is weird right now, but I'm still making websites. And I thought I'd take you along for the ride. So, what I'm working on right now is that I want to be able to pull my latest Instagrams into the footer of my website. And I fiddled around with this a little bit yesterday just to get my bearings. And I figured I would take you along for the hard part, which is trying to get it across Origin. So, first thing I did is I opened up Instagram in an incognito tab, and I figured out that there is this API endpoint because like Instagram has an API, but they never ever approve anyone to actually use it. It's like impossible. So if you want to be able to pull your Instagram stuff, you got to be a little bit sneaky and find your own way. So I found the GraphQL endpoint right here, which is this right here. And that translates into a URL that looks like this. Now, I was like kind of looking at it. I was like, ID, that's probably my Instagram ID. The first 12, that's how many we want to pull in. And then we have this like query hash, which I'm assuming is a way for them to cache data, meaning that like now this query has run and they probably cache the result in like a Redis or something like that. And I thought like, oh man, like that's not going to be good because like what if that expires or something like that. So what I did is I went on GitHub and I searched for like an old URL. Look at this September 26, 2018. That's like a year and a half ago. And I went to that URL and it still works. So Instagram is not expiring these URLs. This URL structure has been the same for a while, which is pretty cool. And that means I can probably use that. The other thing is that this does not go cross-domain, meaning that I can't just pull it directly from Instagram into it. So what we need to do is I tried like using a CORS proxy, but those things keep dropping because of abuse. So I thought I would just make my own endpoint in a serverless function. So what we're going to do here is I've got my Netlify dev running. Or actually, I don't. I'm going to run Netlify dev. And then I'm going to go into my functions and make a new folder. We'll call it Instagram. And then inside of that, we'll make it Instagram.js. And I'm just going to take my handler from the other one and paste that in. We don't need any of that. I don't need that. Don't need that. Don't need that. Basically, we just want to return test. See if that works. Now, the idea is that we're simply just going to hit this URL right here. So let me open that sucker up in the browser. And actually, if I change, I don't need 12. I just want like 4. If I change that to 4, does it still work? Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there's 4. Good. That's good. Now, is Netlify dev running yet? Nope. Give it a sec. I'm up at my cottage, by the way, which we are trying to hide from everything that's going on right now. And I had an office in our cottage, but it's below my kid's toy room, and it's way too loud. So I brought all my gear out to a shed, took all the rakes out, and it's really cold in here. I'm hopefully going to get it insulated very soon. All right, so it seems to be running. So now my question is, can I go to, here we go, Netlify, functions, and then go to Instagram. Functions not found. All right, I just need to restart the thing. Now we've got it. So my question is can I take this URL right here and fetch it and then just send back the JSON that I need? So I'll say const URL. Actually, we have the variable right there. And I only want to grab the first 4, I think. And then I want to fetch it. So I'm going to require dying. It's not what you think. It's not what you think. What are we requiring? Isomorphic fetch. So I can use fetch in Node. Okay. Then we'll make a function called get posts. I'll say const data is equal to await fetch the URL, then data.json, and then can I just console log data and return the data. Okay. Oh, it doesn't like. Let's call that response. And in here, we will send a sync function, const posts, equal to await, get posts. And then if I just kind of just send in the posts back like this. Incorrect function response body. Yeah. What else do we have here? Here we go. Look, there's our data. Okay, so our fetch request is working fine. Your function response must have a string body. Oh, that's easy. JSON.stringify posts. There we go. It doesn't like. I gotta give it like a headers. Content type, application, JSON. Doesn't need quotes. There we go. All right, so I've got the data going in, and next I want to cache it because it is kind of slow, you know. So if I already have it in cache, then I can just serve it up. And like I want to maybe cache it for, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes or so, something like that. So we'll say const cache is equal to that, and last fetch is equal to null. Maybe we'll set that to 0. I want to use timestamps. And then posts is equal to an empty array. Then in get posts, we will first see if we have a cache in 30 mins. So if cache.lastFetch is, oh no, let's make a new variable, const last. What do we call that? Const time since last fetch is equal to date.now minus cache.lastFetch. So if the time since last fetch is less or equal to, now we have 1,000 milliseconds, 60 seconds, that's a minute. So 1,000 milliseconds, 60 seconds, 30 minutes. Is that right? If it's that much, then let's just double check that. Put Google 1.8 million milliseconds. There we go. 30 minutes. That's right. Okay. If the time since last match is less than 30 minutes, then simply just return cache.posts. Otherwise, just go ahead and fetch them. That should then cache them for me. Now, when I refresh this, it should take a second. There we go. And now I refresh again, it should be instant. Is that instant? What we can do is, oh no, because we're obviously not setting that data. If it is, then we say cache.lastFetch is equal to date.now and cache.posts is equal to data, and then we return the data. Now it should take a second. Okay, and now it should be instant. It's not. Oh, you know what? this is not going to work locally. I had the same issue in my OG images where the cache never got served up because it restarted the process every single time. But when I did deploy it to Netlify or Lambda, it did cache it. So I'm going to call that good. Works just fine. The other thing I want to do is I don't want to serve up all of this stuff. I just want to serve up the thumbnail URL, the link, and the slug. So what we want to do here is make another function called slim up posts. Takes in a result or response. And then we'll say const slim posts is equal to response dot data dot user dot edge owner. I'm gonna have to copy paste this. This is massive. Timeline media dot edges dot map, and then for each one we'll just take an edge and return an object where I actually have this code already. URL, caption, and ID. Those are the three things that we need. Paste that in there. Oh shoot, we can't use these question marks because this is in Node, not in Gatsby. Should be fine. URL, that's maybe we'll call that thumbnail. And then we actually want the URL as well to the Instagram. Is that the display URL? No, that's just the raw image. Maybe. There we go. Short code. That's it. So the URL is going to be https instagram.com/p/the edge.shortcode. Now we can do this. Slim up posts. And then also again right here. No, we want posts is equal to slim up post data. I bet that will work. Let's see now. Where's my serverless function? Incorrect function response body. Is there an error? It's undefined. Oh, I forgot to return the data. I can simply just return this map, actually. I don't need a variable. Hey, look at that. Nice, beautiful, clean data. Okay, so good. Now I've got that data here. Now let's go to the front end here and change out this URL. All right, I'm just going to rewrite this entire hook here just to show you how it works. So what we want to do is, let's call it use Instagram. We'll make a new custom hook called use Instagram. Inside of that, we need some state to hold them. So we'll say const posts and set posts is equal to use state. We'll set that to empty array of posts just so that we can loop over the Instagrams here. And then when this thing loads, I want to fetch those posts. So we will use what's it called? Use effect for that. And use effect will run when it loads, when it updates, and when it unmounts. And we're actually just going to run it once when it loads. We don't want to rerun it when it updates, and we don't want to rerun it when it closes itself down. So we'll give ourselves a little function here, and we will fetch the URL, which is this. Actually, you know what? We should just make that a absolute URL. And then we will we'll get our response back, our response.json. And I'm going to use another then. The reason why I'm not using async await here is that because you can't use an async function right inside of here. You would have to make another function inside of it and then call it, and that's just a bit of a pain. So it's a good use case for using the then syntax of promises. So then we have our posts, and I will run set posts with the posts. Now, one thing that will happen right now if I leave it like this is that if I post, that's not what we want. Sorry, we'll call that data. So one thing that's going to happen right now is that when this use effect runs here, it's going to fire off our use effect. It's going to fetch the URL, it's going to come back, and it's going to set posts, and that is going to set state, which will in turn cause this Instagram component to re-render. And as it stands right now, that will cause this use effect to rerun again, which will in turn cause state to be set, which will in turn cause this to re-render, which will in turn cause this to run. So we'll end up with a endless cycle there. So what we can do is take our use effect and pass it an array of things to watch. And we could set a bunch of variables or functions in there, and whenever those things change, this use effect will rerun. In our case, we want to pass nothing because we only ever want it to run once on load. And then finally, from this hook, we are going to just return our posts. And then I believe we need our gram.thumbnail. We didn't get the ID. We need the ID from here. URL, caption. We'll have to figure out how to get the ID for that one in just a second. Actually, let's figure it out right now. Thumbnail. Let's open up one of these. .node.id. Edge.node.id. That's how we get the ID. I bet now. Yeah, now we're passing the ID. Okay, good. So now we render out our Instagram here. We loop over it. We have our caption. We have our ID. We have our thumbnail. Probably also want to put a link around that. And we will link that to the gram.url. Now, see, go on our front end. See how that looks. Nothing. There we go. We've got some data being pulled in here, but they are not images. Why not? Okay, so this says cannot load the image. So if I go to this URL, it loads fine, but for some reason they're being blocked. So how do we debug this? Okay, well, let's go to our network here. There's no errors there. Go to our console. Each child should have a unique key prop. Check the render method of, the key needs to go up here. That won't fix our issue with the image source not working though, but let's try this. Refresh. Okay. The network tab, if we go to images, I don't see our images loading here. So one thing that Firefox is not good at is network errors showing us in. So I'm going to open up my old friend Chrome here and see if that one has any better images. Oh, it's loading there. I probably have some sort of blocker on Facebook running on my Google Chrome. So I'll figure that out. That's a local issue, but I will also have to put some sort of fallback in there. So they are being successfully pulled in. If I click on one, it should click over to the Instagram. No, it doesn't. Looks like my links are broken. Inspect one of these. Undefined. Okay. Let's see. Render it out. Our URLs are all going to undefined. So there's something wrong in here. .no.shortcode. If I refresh this. Now the IDs are being pulled in, and I should be able to click on one of these and go to the actual Instagram page for it. It works. Good. I just have to do a little styling to pull those in, but I'm pretty happy with that. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing how all of that works, and I'll catch you in the next one.